Hello everyone, my name is Sparky Bear, and this is a quick demonstration of a tool I've been working on for about 2 weeks now for XCOM2, specifically for Ironman saves. This is something I like to call the Ironman save backup utility, and I feel like the title is pretty self-explanatory, but if it's not, this is a tool that is built for backing up Ironman saves automatically, allowing the restoration of those saves should one become corrupted. And the motivation behind it is hopefully apparent, but basically since the launch of XCOM2, Ironman saves have been notoriously very picky. Up until now, it's been a very time-consuming process to back them up manually without really having a good way of doing it. Or doing it easily. So I figured I would, with a recent expansion, that I would take a moment and try and create a tool to help us address these issues, make Ironman less of a pain to play, hopefully, and help us avoid the situations where we get to the end of our campaign and all of a sudden our saves are corrupted and we have no way of restoring to a previous save because of how the Ironman saves work at XCOM 2. This tool right now is catered towards XCOM 2, but future plans would include kind of making this a little bit more generic. It's kind of built out to be generic to support other games, but that's not really the focus of what I'll be talking about tonight. Before I go any further, yes, if you really wanted to, this tool could be used to a degree for save scumming. However, because of how the Ironman save process works in XCOM 2 and how they kick off saves, that process is much more difficult than just playing without Ironman, requiring you basically to leave the game continuously every time you'd want to save scum, and creating numerous backups throughout literally every movement, or any time that you would want to reload to an earlier point. So it's not recommended. And really, it's just a major pain. So if you're looking for a tool to do that, just go play without Ironman. This is not the tool for you. All right, now that that is out of the way, let's go into a very quick demo. I feel like most of these fields are pretty self-explanatory. Really, everything is, I think, very self-explanatory, but if it's not, first thing you do is you set your Ironman save location. This is usually in your My Documents folder. After that, if we want to just go through this whole process, we just click on the text box, go into My Documents, My Games, and then go down to XCOM 2 or XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Either one will work, doesn't matter. And select your save data folder. Click OK. You'll see the path is added. Same for the backup location. For mine, I've had mine in this project, so we just go to here, programming, project C#, Ironman save backup location. And once those are set, we can click our little open save directory, and we see this is our XCOM 2 War of the Chosen save data. Currently, we've got 2 campaigns. If I open up my backup directory, you'll see that there are multiple folders created here. Each folder represents a single campaign. 3 is the one that I've been testing with tonight. 4 was one I was testing with earlier, and 5 as well. 0 is just kind of like a default catch-all location, but this will never be populated, basically. So we have I'll keep these directories up on the screen for us. The application open. All right. So now once we set our locations, we can set up a backup interval. Basically, this will kick off a new backup every so many minutes. Default is, I believe, set to 5. And you can set any interval from 0 all the way up to 60 minutes. An interval of 0 is basically the same thing as disabling the backup altogether. But really, I think the best interval is usually about 5 minutes. you can set this down to 1 or 2 or 10 or however long you want. Right now these values are kind of limited by the slider, but that is something that can be relatively easily changed should you feel the desire to do that. Next, below that, we have our backups to keep. Selecting 0 will keep every single backup. Right now, the max backups to keep is 20. Basically this will just delete the oldest backup whenever, when the limit is reached. Something to note, you can change these sliders while the backup process is running, and it will kind of dynamically let you do that. So if you have an interval at 1 minute and then you start the backup process and you want to go to an interval of 10 minutes, you're more than capable of doing that. Same thing with your backups to keep. If you decide, hey, I want to keep 20, and then you're like, I don't need 20, I want to keep 5, then the next time the backup goes, like the backup process hits, it will delete the 15 oldest saves, or it'll create a new save and then delete the all of the 15 or 16 saves to bring you down to your max of 5. Below this, we have a backup restoration feature. This is really very basic. Here you go into your backup location, you select one of your ISB files. ISB is just the extension that I created for this application. It doesn't do anything special. It's just a way of easily finding our backup files. And you select the backup you want to go with. Each of them will have a long ID timestamp basically following it. So if you want to sort by your date modifier, you can do that. Or you can sort by your by this timestamp, and it's basically the same thing. So this is very basic. You click open. I'm going to real quick delete our. Actually, before I do that, let me go back to our main menu real quick. Well, you'll see that I am currently. You'll see the position I'm in. I'm currently in. This is campaign 3, so save and exit real quick. And then let's go back to restore one of our saves. It's for campaign 3. Open. I'm going to click restore. It'll pop up, will say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Restoring a backup will overwrite your current campaign. And there'll, if you don't have a backup of your current location in the campaign, then you will, you can't recover it. So before I do this, I'm going to open my backup directory and keep my backups to keep at 5. And I'm just going to I'm going to click my force backup button. I click OK. Now you'll notice that our backup is created with a date modified of 906. You saw the previous backups get deleted. And now, if I go and want to restore a backup, let's go back. Let's restore the youngest, I guess, the furthest one back. Before I click my restore button, hold on. So we can go ahead and restore it, and we'll see that the Ironman Campaign 3 date modified was changed. Also, if we just delete the Ironman Campaign 3 and I click restore, you'll see the campaign is restored in our save data, right? So now if I go to load game, I can load my Campaign 3 save. And this should now be in I should be back at an earlier turn from where I was at. Yep. And we see that I'm back at an earlier turn before the pod has been activated, before one of my soldiers is dead. We're activating pods, the backup successfully restored. So this is all the basic functionality. However, this hasn't yet showed off our backup happening on an interval, right? So I am going to set this interval to 1 minute. I'm going to open our backup directory, go into campaign 3, and I'm just going to click our start backup button. You'll notice nothing has changed nothing has changed as of yet. You might have noticed that this new backup was created. But besides that, this backup is now running. I am working on getting some kind of notification when these backups are occurring, but ideally the idea is to have this running in the background, just set it and forget it, right? You don't want to have to be babysitting this tool as you're playing the game. You just want it to be backing up your saves for you, right? One thing we can do, I can show, we're about to get another backup kick off soon, so let's bring this down to 2 backups to keep before it kicks off the next, before the interval hits for our minute, right? As we're kind of waiting for this, something that I wanted to talk about is this checkbox for enable event-driven saves. The idea behind this is you saw our backups just got kicked off, sorry, and that we see our 907, 908 backups. You'll notice that there was no difference in the actual game from the 907 backup and the 908 backup. Basically, this will just create a backup of whatever file is open at the time, or no matter what state the save is in. It doesn't check to make sure that the save is different from the previous backup. And this is what I was going to talk about with these enable event-driven saves. Currently, this functionality is not fully working. I am trying to kind of get it into a place where I like it. But these event-driven saves are going to be a bit unique in that they are meant to kick off every time XCOM2 creates a new save game for the Ironman location. So instead of doing an interval, it'll say, hey, every time the Ironman save is changed, then we're going to do a backup, so that way we can grab basically every single actual iteration of the save instead of having to kind of worry about an interval saving and things like that. This is kind of preferred, I think, because one, it can make sure that all your saves are unique, that you don't have any duplicate saves, and it kind of gives you a little bit more security in knowing that, hey, I might only be keeping 10 saves, but I know that each of these saves is unique. So if the most recent one is corrupted, I can be pretty sure that the one right before that will be fine, or going all the way back. Because of the way the interval saves are right now, we're not comparing what is actually inside the files or making sure that they're unique. So this is there's a little bit of risk in that regards. I am working very diligently to get this event-driven saves working correctly. However, if you would like to contribute, this code will be up on GitHub, and you're more than welcome to take a look at it and create a pull request to try and or to work on that, or anything else. So we've seen the backups being created. We've seen kicking off these intervals. We've seen that we can kind of change these sliders as the backup is going, and now if we just stop the backup, basically this will kind of go through the next interval and do one more backup, and then it'll kind of stop doing the backup process. There is something to note. This program is still being tweaked a little bit. So when you are stopping a backup for now, there will be a little bit of a delay between clicking the stop backup button and then re-enabling another start to start a new backup process. But it's not there's nothing wrong with the program. It's just making sure that the current backup operation is given enough time to complete before you kick off another backup operation, and potentially having 2 backups running at the same time. It'll work fine should that happen, but you'll end up getting you'll just end up creating multiple backups at once. So it's something that you might want to avoid. So when you're stopping the backup, there will be a little period before you can start the next backup up, or if you'd like, you can simply restart the program, and then you don't have to worry about that. Last thing to talk about is obviously our big red delete all backups button. This does exactly what you think it does. You click this button, a big warning pops up. It says, hey, we're going to delete every single backup in your backups folder. No, there's no way to reverse it. No, these don't go to the recycle bin. You're clearing them out. I click yes, boom, everything is deleted. I go into my folders, and now we see all of our backups are gone. Folders are still there because I'm assuming that should you do this, you're not altering your actual XCOM saves, it's just your save backups. We go back to our campaign. Campaign 3 still exists, so the folder for Campaign 3 exists as well. Just something to keep in mind. This is available. I don't recommend using it unless you want to clear out all your backups for some reason. So that is the that's basically it. That's the entire that's the application as it is. As I said, there's some more work being done on the enable event-driven saves, so that way, as XCOM2 creates saves, then we can do a backup then. There will be, again, some small delay between clicking the stop backup and the start backup button, just to make sure that you're not kicking off multiple backup processes running at one time. No, it's not a bug. It is working correctly. So that is our overview of our Ironman Save Backup tool. The GitHub link was going to be posted in the comments as well as on the thread for this, and you'll be able to find this in basically the releases tab, or if you'd like to download the full source code for this, mess around with it, submit changes and whatnot, please do so. This is really the first iteration of this tool. It's the first iteration of this tool. It's a little rough around the edges. It can be done a little bit better, but I am one person and I can't test everything on my own. So I really need feedback from you guys in order to kind of make this better and to make this what we kind of need it to be in order to make sure that our Ironman backups are working correctly and are preserved and are things that we don't really need to be all that concerned about. One more thing to note, obviously, as I hope would be expected, is that your settings will be saved across each launch of the application, and the backups are done, quote, intelligently, and that it will, when it's creating a backup, it'll go by the most recently updated Ironman save. So, in my case, it was Campaign 3, but if I was playing Campaign 2, my Ironman Campaign 2 save, that would have been the file that was backed up, right? So just keep that in mind. It will, you don't need to worry about kind of pointing it to specific campaigns or anything like that. You just need to point it to your XCOM2 save data, your backup location, and everything else will be taken care of. I will demonstrate the relaunching and saving of settings real quick. So all we have to do is just click exit. We can start again. And we see that the settings are all saved for us. Obviously, the restore backup isn't saved because, that could change. So everything else is still there, including the last backup that we created. So thank you for your time. I'm sorry this went a little long and I rambled a little bit, but I hope this tool is useful for you. Thank you and have a good day.